What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Views from Rosie. This is a review show. We're going to be reviewing Raw, SmackDown, and the occasional pay-per-view.
I'm Massa.
And I'm Safe. And with our first episode, we're going to be talking about the 25th anniversary of Raw, which happened last night.
So before we get started with the review, some news just recently hit the surface. ENZO AMORE, the Cruiserweight Champion, has been released over sexual assault allegations.
But that's exactly what they are. They're just allegations. He hasn't been proven guilty quite yet. So I'm kind of interested to see why they released him. It could be just because of the bad press and they just don't want that. It could also be that they know something that we don't. But as for the Cruiserweight division, it's just in complete shambles. They already lost Neville, Austin Aries, Rich Swann has been suspended, and now Enzo is gone. So what's going to happen with the Cruiserweight division, we're going to just have to wait and find out. All right, so enough about the whole Enzo situation. Let's go right into Raw. We started off in the Manhattan Center with good old JR and Jerry the King Lawler, but we went right to the Barclays Center where Shane and Stephanie were already in the ring. Vince came out. That whole segment, what did you think of it?
See, I really liked how Vince started off really humble and then got to this point of, saying that he did it all by himself. And, we give him a lot of credit because he did do a lot of it by himself. But I loved how he started calling the plaque cheap and saying that, these fans are cheap. And yeah, we are in New York anyway. So I really like that part. And, it shows the true attitude era of Vince.
I thought it was so funny when Stephanie was talking about the whole plaque being funded by a GoFundMe account. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, because you guys really need the money.
Look who comes out, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of all saw it coming when all the McMahons were out there. It's like Stone Cold's about to come in any second now. Obviously, it's just, I get like goosebumps every time I hear the glass breaking, and we haven't seen Stone Cold on Raw for years now, so it was definitely cool to see him in there. He throws up the middle fingers, but yeah, Austin McMahon, the greatest rivalry of all time. So cool to see them both in the ring together. And Vince just was like comedy gold. He was saying that he was an AARP member. He's got heart problems.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. That had me cracking up. So Austin, obviously, he didn't have to say a word, I thought. Like, some people are complaining. They're like, oh, Steve Austin, one of the greatest guys on the mic, most charisma of all time. But did he really have to say anything? I mean...
Yeah, he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. That speaks for itself. And also, the thing about him is... he's just such a big star, and I like how they opened the show with him because they gave him a good amount of spotlight, and it started the show off really hot.
Right after that, though, we go straight into an 8-woman tag match. I have to say, after seeing so many 8-woman tags, 6-woman tags, the lazy booking is just on display here, both Raw and SmackDown. Just constant multi-woman matches.
It's the same thing, and they're all thrown together, and that really pisses me off because they have so much star power that a singles match would work. And especially in this, Raw regular, we understand, it's been happening for a while, but this is Raw 25. We wanted to see something momentous. This just seems like a regular Raw, and I think this was one of the really low points of the night.
They didn't even mention the Women's Royal Rumble at all with, they could have had a promo or something. You could have involved some of the legends.
Yeah.
But instead, they just gave you this lazy-ass booking, and it just shows you that the women will never be able to draw like the men if they're just all piled up together into this one segment. You're not going to be able to make stars. The reason why Trish and Lita stood out is because they had time. But at the end, the faces end up winning with Sasha Banks beating Alicia Fox via Banks' statement. And I think the only really good part of this was at the end when Asuka threw everyone over the top rope and maybe foreshadowing a possible Rumble win for her. But at the same time, I feel like if they already showed, we already saw the visual of Asuka throwing over everyone in the ring, and we see her there standing victorious. I feel like they're possibly not going to go with Asuka come Royal Rumble time.
So back to the Manhattan Center, and lo and behold, The Undertaker comes out. This was super exciting. They've been building Taker up, that he's going to show up at Raw 25 for so long. He's the star of the show. They built him up like that. Had a short segment.
I appreciate the attention to detail. He wasn't wearing any of his
he wasn't.
attire from WrestleMania. He was wearing kind of this new gear, kind of reminiscent to his Ministry of Darkness look. So with the cut-off sleeves, and I thought he looked pretty badass. But what did you think of the segment?
I didn't get it. It was kind of weird. It just didn't make sense. I didn't know if they're trying to build to Cena Taker at Mania, or if they're just, I thought he would probably announce his Hall of Fame, but because Goldberg is now inducted, that was completely out the window.
Maybe even just like announce his retirement. I'm kind of happy they didn't do anything with him and Cena, because, my opinions are that Taker, he left in such a romantic way. I think we should keep it that way. I'm glad he was on Raw 25, but the promo really didn't make sense. But I honestly think we're going to see him at the Rumble this Sunday. So after that confusing Taker segment, we go to an APA segment, which this is kind of a recurring theme throughout the night. Here we only have Slater and Rhyno and Ted DiBiase, and they're in typical APA fashion, playing poker backstage. I used to love seeing these as a kid when they would cut to the APA, and they're just, I thought they were always so funny together, and they were so badass in the ring. Seeing Slater and Rhyno, it was kind of weird, but Ted DiBiase obviously is one of the greatest of all time, so it's cool to see him there.
Yeah, throughout the night, this is recurring, but they keep adding people throughout the night, so...
people are just buying their way into the poker game.
Yeah, Natalya comes in, the Usos, the New Day, a bunch of people, even MVP shows up. We see a lot of legends thrown into that little mix to kind of let every... person shine for a little bit. So now we cut to this little tribute to the general managers. Past general managers come out to their themes with John Laurinaitis, William Regal, Eric Bischoff, and Daniel Bryan in the end coming out. This was kind of thrown together. I didn't like how they didn't really give them any time. They did that with the women too, which I didn't really like. But, some of them got really big pops. Definitely Daniel Bryan, of course, Eric Bischoff, and surprisingly, Laurinaitis.
I mean, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but, what do you want them to do? They're just gonna...
That's true.
Just say something, again, vague, something very cliche. I guess they didn't have too much time, but at the end of the day, what are you gonna do with them? So, obviously, Miz comes out next, and we're gonna have Miz and Roman Reigns. Altogether, I thought this was a very good match.
I did too. I really liked it. They gave him a decent amount of time, and I was surprised because it was such a packed show. They gave them a good amount of time. They were able to do what they got to do. And
Miz obviously ended up winning dirty with an exposed turnbuckle. He ended up winning via skull-crushing finale. Took the title off of Reigns. And now, what does this mean for Roman Reigns? I mean, he's definitely going to go on and go against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. But at least we don't get to see a champion versus championship match, because Miz is so good with the Intercontinental title. And now it's 8 championship reigns with the title.
And Jericho has 9, and he holds the record. So
we see Miz is definitely going to break that record. So after that, we go straight to the Peep Show, and I was disappointed that they didn't give Christian an entrance. They just went straight to the segment, and he had just a little thing to say, and then obviously he brought out Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins, and Jason Jordan got booed out of the building. I love that, though. It was so cool because he's doing this I'm a babyface. He's doing what Kurt Angle did back in the day, which I really like, and because he is his illegitimate son. So I think that was really smart of him, or smart of the booker, or whoever decided to do that, because everyone was booing him like crazy. Jordan, I think, is playing the perfect role. At first, they were just trying to force him as this next generation, but now he's playing that annoying partner role, and you could just see Seth just wants to shoot him during the segment. So I thought that was funny. But Jason, his heel turn is inevitable, and when it happens, I think it will make him such a more interesting character. So the bar actually comes out, and they interrupt, and I actually thought this was much needed, because I definitely did want to see the stars of Raw show up there too, because they were the former tag champions. They are very important, some of the best right now. And I thought that their segment was great, that they, got their revenge on them. And I think you could possibly even see a Jason Jordan heel turn as early as this Sunday at the Rumble, because if they want to give the titles back to the bar, I see Jason Jordan probably betraying Seth Rollins. I mean, you already saw Seth Rollins accidentally hit Jason Jordan. Yeah. So they could possibly take it the other way at the Rumble and have Jason Jordan go full out heel on Seth. So next we have an Alexa Bliss backstage segment, and then Charlotte shows up, and just the height difference is pretty crazy. I know, I saw that. I think she's wearing heels. I'm pretty sure she was wearing heels, but Alexa already is short, and now Charlotte is, I think she's 6 foot, maybe a little bit shorter. And now with heels as well. So it kind of, I saw this tweet. It was like senior and freshman.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
So that was funny. And then we saw Ric Flair coming in, and they just kind of made Alexa look weak. I mean, Alexa's been such a bad champion in her reign, in her most recent reign. She hasn't defended the title since October.
Yeah, I don't not even on Raw. She never defends her title. She never barely is even featured. Even when she is, it's very maybe says 2 words. You know?
Exactly, and she's part of this whole Nia Jax Enzo thing.
Yeah,
it's that's not how a champion should be treated, and that's exactly why the women's revolution hasn't gotten as big as it should be at this point.
So back to Manhattan Center. Bray Wyatt versus Matt Hardy. I actually thought it was funny that they turned off the lights for Bray Wyatt and not for Taker.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, Taker, that's his that's his gimmick. The light turn off, but that's weird. This match, this just had me banging my head on the wall. This had WrestleMania written all over it.
I know.
With the proper build. But why do these guys have to wrestle unadvertised? I understand it's Raw 25, but you gave them 3 or 4 minutes to wrestle.
And they didn't even advertise it, which made me go crazy because they've been building this up and this has so much potential. But the fact that Bray won in such a short amount of time was crazy. So now it's the time to appreciate the women. First started off with the Bella twins. Michelle McCool was there. Kelly. Lastly, Trish Stratus came out, but there was also Maria Kanellis, Maryse. That makes
sense. Who else was there? You said Jacqueline.
Jacqueline was there.
Tori Wilson. Yeah. Terry Runnels. Obviously, you mentioned Trish Stratus.
Yeah,
she came out with a huge pop. I mean, at the end of the day, she is probably the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And I'm hoping we could see her at the Rumble this Sunday. So next, we skip to a backstage segment with Elias. And
at
the Barclays Center. He has a altercation with Chris Jericho, Alpha Club and all. And then he puts him on the list. I thought that was funny. I thought this segment was funny, but Jericho is one of the most talked about wrestlers in the world right now, and you just kind of wasted him on a backstage segment. I understand if he's not gonna wrestle for WWE for a while because he does have this New Japan thing with Tetsuya Naito, but I feel like it was kind of a waste. Maybe he should have done a little bit more.
Next, we cut back to Elias, and he's singing a song in the ring. He calls out the legends, but then Cena comes out to interrupt him. But this is kind of like what happened at Christmas.
He also called out Jimmy Fallon, who was sitting first row. But unlike what happened at Christmas, where they just kind of made, where Cena just won, here I thought I was really impressed with what happened. They made Elias look big, and for the casual audience that is watching, if Elias is rubbing shoulders with John Cena, that makes him a big deal automatically. So I hope they go somewhere with this feud because I really enjoy Elias, and he hasn't really been doing anything since he went to the main roster. He's just been getting TV time, which is definitely a very valuable thing, but he hasn't had any major feuds off the top of my head. So rubbing shoulders with Cena is going to be big for this guy.
So next we have Titus Worldwide versus Heath, Slater, and Rhyno. The seeds were planted in the APA segment when they were playing poker, but we had a double DQ, and then the Dudley Boys came out, which was super exciting. Love that.
And I've been hearing some murmurings that the Dudleys are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, which is very well deserved. Here, again, just a nostalgia segment. Nothing to really write home about, but it was definitely cool to see the Dudleys again. And they did a 3D on Heath Slater through a table. Vintage Dudleys.
So now we switch to the Manhattan Center, and might I say, there hasn't been much going on in the Manhattan Center. I know they had some dark matches, but still, they paid a lot of money.
There was a lot of backlash on Twitter, and they were chanting, "We want refunds." They were really not happy. They paid so much money just to get a few segments and 2 matches. So WWE really dropped the ball there, and they tried to make up for it by bringing Ric Flair and The Miz at the end, but still, that's really unacceptable, and I feel bad for everyone who was at the Manhattan Center.
Yeah. But DX comes out, and that was really exciting. They got a huge pop. It was really cool because you see the dynamic again. We haven't seen DX actually have a full-on segment in a while, It was really cool to see them. I, of course, I love seeing Shawn Michaels and Triple H, their shenanigans.
Yeah, and it was the whole DX army. So you had Road Dogg, you had Billy Gunn. They brought out X-Pac on his own, and people were just kind of confused. But at the end, they did give him a chant. They started chanting 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Scott Hall came out. They went right to commercial, which was really confusing. It's like, wait, this is, like, one of your biggest stars is coming out. But they cut back, and then the Balor Club came out. I thought that was pretty cool because at the end of the day, you don't want to make it just all about the legends. You want to put over a current faction. And Finn, ever since he's been reunited with Carl and Luke, he's just,
I love it, yeah.
cooler. I don't know.
He's so much cooler. I always thought that Finn Balor was really cool. I love his entrance, his jacket, his, like, mojo. But now, even with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, plus that gives them something to do because they haven't even been featured.
At the end, the Revival come out, and this is where it goes downhill. The Revival have a very quick match with the Club. They lose in very quick fashion. The matches
They just came out, though.
That too, but also the Manhattan Center matches were so short. You had Bray and Matt going under 5 minutes. This went under 5 minutes. The Revival, one of the best tag teams in the world, being treated like filth, basically. I'm okay with the Club beating them, but just not in that fashion. And at the end, the Legends got their stuff in, doing basically all their finishers on the Revival. So hopefully this means better things for the Revival in the future, and hopefully WWE makes up for that atrocity that happened. So now we switch back to the Barclays Arena for the last segment, which was the main event segment. Kurt Angle brought out a bunch of the Legends and a lot of the current roster people, really for no reason. They didn't do anything. They were just kind of spectators the whole time. The New Day, extra as always. They made me crack up. Kofi and Big E, all their shenanigans. They're just super entertaining. But what happened here? Nothing really. It's kind of an anticlimactic moment to lead up to the Rumble.
And why is it the main event? I don't like how it was the main event of this whole show. It was just kind of like a cluster. And there were just so many, the Legends didn't really do anything. They were there for no reason.
Kane was non-existent in this. Yeah. Braun put Brock through a table. But here's the thing with Braun, is they're doing so many crazy things with him. I think they need to tone it back just a little bit because it makes something like this, putting Brock through a table, makes it feel less special.
Yeah.
Because he's flipping over trucks and flipping over ambulances, and then when you put Brock through a table, it's not as special.
Yeah.
And here, this is the last thing we see before the Rumble, and it's like I said, anticlimactic.
So overall, I actually thought that Raw 25 was a good show. I did enjoy it. There were definitely some downs. But seeing the nostalgia, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I really liked seeing all those Legends, and I did like seeing some highlights, and some matches were actually pretty good, and I enjoyed the show yesterday.
I think overall for a Raw, this was a good Raw, but because they hyped up Raw 25 so much, this was, for me, a down show. I did enjoy a lot of things on here, but they just made it out to be like, it's going to be like the Raw after Mania, or they're trying to hype it up like that, but it really fell short. I thought the Legends didn't really do much, and they ended up burying the Revival. Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt segment was awful, and, besides that, everything else was good, but not great, and I think overall it was kind of a flop. So that's our views from Rosie for the 25th anniversary of Raw. Tell us what you think in the comment section below.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to comment down below any suggestions that you have. And we'll see you guys in the next video.